What's going on, everybody? He is Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Use that promo code below, Warchant30, for 30 free days of access. I'm Aslan Hajavani, director of digital media. A lot of the stuff on YouTube is what I work on. Hope you like it. Hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe. Michael Langston, busy as always, even though we're about to get into the season, but lots of eyeballs on how this team's going to perform. Maybe no bigger set of eyeballs that fans are curious to know what is going to process what they see this season than a local kid. You were able to catch up with one of the top prospects in the nation for a one-on-one.
Yeah, I stopped by practice for defensive back. I had a John Paul Catholic, Terrion Arnold. We stopped by. I talked to him for about 20, 30 minutes and obviously watched the practice as well. And Terrion, we talked about different topics. First of all, he said he thinks he's going to play cornerback at the next level. Not a lot of people have him listed as a safety. Tells me he feels he's going to end up as playing a cornerback. So that was the first takeaway I had. And then the second one is you mentioned the schools he was comfortable with. You mentioned Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, which is not really a surprise. All three of those schools do a really good job of with DBs and defensive backs and putting them in the leagues. I think LSU would probably be a team in there who's even wearing LSU gloves at practice. So I think that's another team. And I think FSU is going to be a 15 that's in there that we have to watch because he made it clear, look, I didn't even recognize that team from 2 years ago. That was basically what he says. I didn't even recognize the football team I saw the last 2 years. And he was kind of referring to just the play, what he sees out of these guys, and the fact that it didn't look like old FSU. He said, when I think of FSU, I think of LaMarcus Joyner, Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey. He started reeling off these guys of what they've done in the past, and it didn't fit the mold of what he's seen so far. So I think a big deal is this season to FSU to show a different attitude, and that's the thing he mentioned constantly was the attitude. He didn't mention. He said, and he told me clearly, it's not about the wins, because I don't think that's a big deal. It's about the product and what he sees on the field as far as the attitude and the way they play. And also he kind of hinted at just guys that they feel that when they go out there and you look at them, these guys are going to play at the next level. And that's kind of what he's trying to get at. He's trying to get to a place that's going to get him to the next level. And I think if FSU shows that as far as their defense and their team overall, as far as the product, they're going to be very much in the mix.
Does he strike you as a guy, Michael, that wants to kind of see what they're going to do schematically and how the defense works, or just a guy that wants to see success and guys having fun playing for this storied program once again?
I think he just wants to see an aggressive defense. I don't think it's so much scheme, because he can play in any scheme. He's so good and he's so talented. Really good hips. He can play in any defense. I don't think it's so much the scheme of the defense. I think it's what these guys do on the field as far as making big plays, forcing turnovers, stuff that makes the defense exciting, and two, just playing with an attitude, playing with a different attitude than what we've seen the last 2 years. I mean, you look at all the talent that FSU has in that secondary, you would expect a lot more than what we've seen the past 2 years. And I think that's what he's getting at. And I could feel him. I could feel where he's coming from. I could understand what he's talking about, of him looking for a school that's going to get him, to that next level after college. And I think it's almost like he was begging for FSU to do that and show that. And I think if they show that, they're certainly going to be heavily in the mix for him when this all shakes down as far as the top teams. But I think he wants to see a different attitude with FSU. And, I'm going to go in depth, and I'll cover that when we write the story. But I think people kind of get a feel of what he's talking about, of he wants to see a difference as far as what's happened the last 2 years. He wants to see a different attitude, whether that's picks, forcing turnovers, forcing fumbles, aggressive, fun defense that just jumps out to him. That's kind of what he's looking for. Not so much the wins, but a defense that's going to jump out to you.
I mean, Florida State's got their work cut out for them, Michael. I mean, this guy's got Alabama hot on his trail. Many SEC schools. Auburn's also in the mix, as you guys can see there on the screen with his offers. What sort of relationships do you think he's got built right now with Florida State and maybe some of the other staffs that Florida State's having to battle with?
Well, I think one thing he said was, I love the way Coach Norvell is recruiting me. So he really liked it, the culture that he's building, what he's saying. I think he's loving everything they're saying. He's got a really good relationship with Marcus Woodson, who's been on him from the start. I think he's got a good relationship with the LSU coaches. I think he's building a good relationship with Florida. They got a little momentum there. Alabama's got a little momentum there. But the one thing, the takeaway I got was, and I asked him very directly, it's like, do you know where you're going? And he's like, I have no idea, or I'd already commit right now. It's like you could really tell just in the conversation, this kid really doesn't know for sure, where he's going to end up. But I think that's why he wants to wait until December. Said he was going to make a commitment in December, which would be the early signing period. Or if he doesn't enroll early, he'll do it in February and he'll wait. So I think he's taken a really business-like approach where he's really going to study these teams of who does the best as far as fitting his game. Because the one thing he loves is he loves playing with other great players. So I think that's a big deal as far as just being around top talent. He wants to be around other top players, and that kind of speaks to kind of the way he is all the time. So I think that's why he wants to see the season, and I think that's why I would say, I'm seeing a lot of people predict Florida. A lot of people pick Alabama, but I think it's pretty early for that because he gave an impression to me that this is a kid that's wide open. It seemed to be Florida had some momentum, but then I went to the practice and just being around him, he seemed to light up a little bit more when he talked about LSU coaches. Then he lit up a little bit more when he talked about the FSU coaches and the way Norvell's recruiting. So I think in this process, it's just beginning, and I think he's a guy that's still pretty open to a lot of schools. I think Alabama speaks for itself. Nick Saban. Obviously a former DB coach. This guy knows his stuff as far as DBs. He knows what to look for. Their history in putting guys in the NFL, it goes without saying. So I think that's an attraction. But I think, and he also told me he's not going to base the decision on just his relationships with the position coach. He's like, it has to do, you could tell this kid's taking a really direct business approach to what place fits my game the best. And you can also tell there's a personal feeling that he's hoping and really hoping that he sees a different attitude with FSU, because I think he really wants to consider them. And the fact that he's looking for certain things from FSU, that tells you he's legitimately interested in them. He wants to see something out of them that can really bring them into the picture with those three other teams that I mentioned.
Last thing, 15 seconds, Michael. Home field. Big for a lot of kids. Some kids want to leave home, though, and kind of spread their wings. Does he strike you as a kid that would like to stay home?
I don't think he strikes me as a kid that would wants to leave the area or stay home. I think he's a kid that he would prefer if the situation is perfect, he would prefer to stay home. But I don't think he's like one way or the other, where he's like, some kids are just like in Tally, they just want to leave or get away. That was kind of my whole thing I wanted to get out of when I talked to Terry. And I wanted to see, does this kid actually just want to get away and just not, get away from the city and experience college life? But it wasn't like that. It was just like you could tell he's looking just for the right place. So I think being close to home would certainly is a benefit for FSU. But at the same time, they're going to have to show the fit to justify him staying home. So I think, like I said, this kid's very a grounded approach, a very business-like approach, and I don't think it hurts or certainly hurts or helps their chances as far as whether he's home or not. It just gives them more access for him to see him. And I will mention the one other thing. I asked him about the Georgia Tech game. You could tell he's been following the FSU practices, just the way he knew about the mission takeaways. He knew about the stuff that Adam Fuller's doing. He knew, even when I mentioned the Georgia Tech time, he's like, I'm definitely going to be tuning into that game. So you could tell if he wasn't interested in FSU, he wouldn't be talking about, I'm definitely going to tune into that game. I mean, you could tell he's looking to see what FSU is going to do on the field.
Full write-up on Terrion Arnold coming from Michael Langston over on Warchant.com. Use that promo code Warchant30 for 30 free days of access. Michael, thanks for the time, and looking forward to reading that feature.
You got it, man.